Hey friend, this is Eric from Miller Music, and I frequently get the question, what is the correct way or the best way to record a full song inside of Studio One? Kind of like if you had an A to Z checklist for recording a song. And there are many approaches to doing this, but in this video, I want to show you a system that works really well for me, both in terms of getting a good result creatively, as well as efficiently, not spending too much time while doing it. So I'm going to break down a 9-step system for recording a full demo song inside of Studio One. Let's jump in. So just to define what a demo song is, you could have everything from a simple phone recording of a guitar and vocal of a song all the way to kind of more of the full end of the spectrum. And this is closer to that. This is closer to having a completed song with all of the instruments into it. Maybe not quite ready for releasing, but more of a completed song. So I'm going to break down each step in this process of the song that you're seeing here and show you what I did for that. So the first thing is I recorded a guitar parts, and we're going to listen to that right now. I recorded the guitar with a click, really important to kind of set that up initially and finding a good tempo. So here's just the guitars. This is the chorus now. So those are just the guitars. What I did for that, and by the way, this is a video we did last week. I used Empire to set all of this up with recording the guitar parts. The second thing that I did was to add the drums. So the drums are up here in red. So we're going to listen to now. When I had that guitar part in, I added the drums. So let's bring the drums back in. So to record the drums, I used Impact. So this is the kind of the drummer that I use, and I use this Tom Brecklin drums. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I sequenced them all out, using the editor. So the drum editor over here. So you can see those are the drum beats that I clicked in and made it a pretty simple groove. So it worked out pretty well for that. Okay, so one thing I do want to share with you on the drums, I did tweak the kick drum sound. So we're just soloing this out here. And I added a Pro EQ. And I kind of did a high pass filter here where I just cut out some of the high end. So if you were to listen to it without this, the kick to me sounds a little bit harsh. But if I add it back in, it just sounds a little softer, kind of a little bit more of that woof sound that I was going for. But that was pretty much all I did for the kick and the drum sounds. Okay, so next thing I added in was the bass guitar. So we're going to add this into the mix. And again, I played this in through a MIDI bass. I used inside of Studio One. I used the Presence bass finger full. That was my sound that I used to do that bass. But I played it in through the keys. I had to quantize it a little bit just to make sure it was totally on beat. Also, by the way, there is a cool feature here. You can use this humanize feature. Which I did a little bit with the bass. So when you're quantizing things, you don't want to do if you do everything 100% perfectly, it loses some of the feel. So you can change the velocity. It defaults to -4% for a kind of, it almost automatically offsets that a little bit. So that's one little tip for when quantizing things, just to make them not quite perfect. You can do that. Hey friend, if you don't know me, my name is Eric Miller, and I help guitar players with music production. And I wanted to let you know I have a special bundle for you. It's a special offer. It has all of my music production courses plus a mix critique in one side of one bundle. So what you get inside the bundle is my Music Production 101 course, which is basically like an introduction to music production and recording. It has also my second course, which is called Studio One Simplified. This has a complete kind of walkthrough on exactly what to do inside of Studio One, all the way from the beginning, all the way to the end, from recording, mixing, and mastering music inside of Studio One and getting pro sounds. And lastly, I have a mix critique inside of the bundle. So when you have a finished mix, you can send that to me and I will create a custom video for you, giving you some tips on your mix. So to get access to the bundle, just click the link in the description below. Okay, back to the video. Okay, so the fourth instrument I added in was the keys, and you can see the keys down here. And actually, I have 3 different keyboards. So we're going to play this. Let's go from the chorus. So the keys you'll hear, I have a Rhodes piano, like kind of the synth sound that I'm using inside of the Mai Tai. It's called the pad, and it's under pad. It's simply harpsisaw. Anyway, these names. But that's the pad sound I have, and then a basic piano sound. So, and then in terms of the mix, I have the piano and the Rhodes panned a little bit right and left, and then that Mai Tai straight up the middle. By the way, I have a folder here created for all of these keys instruments, so it kind of can package them up nicely if I open and close the folder. Same thing with the guitars. If I open up the guitars, I have 2 clean guitars over here, and then 2 of the lead guitar tracks kind of in the darker blue color. So that's the fourth thing, is the keyboard. So all together. So you can get to see now that it's a bit fuller of a mix. Now, I do want to let you know that to create the keyboard track, a really simple thing that I did is I actually took my guitar part and I dragged it up into the chord track. So to do this, it's really simple. You just take your guitar part and you drag it up inside of the chord track, and the chord track is automatically going to detect what your guitar just played. I've done several videos on this, but what's interesting is that as I expand this, you can see my chords above, and it's going to line up. It's going to line up with what's playing on screen. And then to create a MIDI part, you just take you select all of these chords, and then you drag it back down into your MIDI track. So that's kind of what you'll see on my MIDI parts. They're actually copies of themselves. If I scroll down here, it's the same part. But it created a sound that I was going for. You know, the keys aren't featured. It's more of like just this. The background music is really what I was going for in that. Okay, so the last instrument that I added would be the vocals. Okay, so I have a whole vocal track down here, and if I open up that, whoops, you can kind of see these are all in green, and there's quite a bit of vocal tracks because I have several harmony parts, and then I separated them out for the verses. So you have I recorded each of the verses, then I recorded each of the choruses, and then finally I doubled the chorus and then added a bridge section. So each track has almost its own section within the music, and then I labeled that over here, and then you have the harmony parts as well. So let's give that a listen. Trusting God our Savior, we praise our Creator. For everything, and knows what tomorrow brings. Seek first the kingdom, His glory, the name above every name. And if you were to go over to like the chorus over here, let's check that out. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to solo just the vocals. This is a little, just so you can kind of hear all of the different parts. So with the harmonies. Son, seek first the kingdom, his glory, the name above every name, our foundation. And then that was me kind of like doing some of the falsetto parts that's supposed to emulate the female part in the background, but then back together with everything. In his story, for he'll break every chain. Seek first the kingdom, his power, there is freedom in his name. So that's all of the parts, okay? And that's the order I did them in. So first you have guitars, then drums, bass, keys, and then vocals last. Now I want to talk about getting a simple mix in. Okay, so here we are. This is step number 7, quick mix. I have everything color coded so it's really easy to see everything, but we have all of the different tracks here. The first thing that you want to do is just set your levels. So on the faders, just make sure that everything is kind of a consistent a volume that sounds good to your ear. Just listen through and kind of set everything. I do think it's important to here in this stage to also do panning. So I have like these clean guitar parts panned right and left, the keys panned right and left a little bit, as well as some of the harmony parts for the vocals. So over here I have if it's one of the harmonies, I have it panned right, and then the other harmony panned left. And not fully, but just a little bit to give a little bit of a wider sound. And I'm just noticing now that this is not, I want to have that panned opposite, and it wasn't. Provider and sustainer. Okay, so that's step 1 for the the mixes. Now we're going to go into the next step, which is step 8. Let's see, 8. Step 8 is going to be adding effects. And I've talked about this in other videos, but the way I like to do this, you can see in all of these tracks here, there's really not a whole lot of effects, okay? So I like to make a bus track for each of my instrument groups. So I have a vocal bus right over here. To do that, you just simply click all of your vocal tracks, right click, and then click Add Bus for selected channels. And then you can add in what you're going to have in terms of your buses. For me, this I have basically, let's open some of these up. On my vocal bus, I have a compressor, Pro EQ, just kind of taking out some of the lows. I boosted actually a little bit of the high end for my voice. A slight delay and a slight room reverb for the vocal bus. Okay, for the guitar bus, pretty simple as well. I just have a kind of a low pass filter just to prevent some of the muddiness. Then a compressor and an analog delay. And then finally on the drum bus, and his word, the drum bus is set to, let's check this out, a fat channel. And the Pro, and there's just a little bit of room reverb. Now you can hear that there is there's no kick drum in that. That's because I have the kick just going straight out because I don't like to put reverb on the kick drum. Okay, step number 9. You've made it this far. Basically, the last step in the process is I put a limiter onto the main outs and also these cool mix effects. So if I open this up, don't be afraid. This is like, it's supposed to emulate a console shaper, so you can do all these. For he's always near, his love is mighty, and you can hear, will cast out fear. It kind of does this slight, I like the C1 classic, it just emulates, it gives it a little bit of a color. It's just a really cool way to add something to your track. And then the last step finally is putting a limiter on your main output. Now for this, I would obviously take this off once it's going to be mastered, but for now, if you're going to send this to someone, this is a really good way to kind of just make sure it's the proper loudness and it's also not peaking. So I have the threshold set to -3. I'm actually going to set that to -1. So we do that
alone, the only one.
ceiling to -1, and then I have just a little bit of gain on there, 1 decibel, to kind of bring the mix up a little bit. Okay, so just to recap here, we recorded the guitar parts, then we recorded the drums, then we did the bass, then we did the keys, then we did vocals, so that was adding all of our instruments in, and then the next step was to do a rough mix in terms of volume levels. Then the next step, step 8, was to add effects. Step 9 is to finally add a limiter and the mix effects onto your main outs. So I hope you found this video helpful. I encourage you to check out, if you want to go deeper and more in-depth in this, to get my Miller Music Production Bundle, which is all of my courses for just $97. That's 65% off the usual price. And as usual, if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.